This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Do you ever have a story that you just can't get out of your head?
One that you play the details of over and over with your friends?
Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Claire.
And I'm Susan.
And this is Justice Pending,
a weekly true crime podcast where we discuss tantalizing crimes with more questions than answers.
A quiet Texas suburb, a vacant parking lot beside Interstate 35. A car with its headlights on. The passenger door is wide open. And inside, a young woman's life ended by gunfire.
It was the first murder in the small town of Corinth, Texas in nearly 2 decades. No robbery, no obvious motive. Just a college senior, loved, vibrant, days away from graduation, found shot to death before dawn.
And 8 years later, this case is still unsolved.
Hi, I'm Susan.
And I'm Claire. And this is Justice Pending, the murder of Amanda Clairmont.
To understand the gravity of this case, you have to understand who Amanda was. She was 21 years old, a University of North Texas senior, majoring in business and religious studies, just months away from graduating.
Yeah, I remember this case when I was working as a producer at 48 Hours on CBS, because this was just a completely shocking murder of a young woman at like the peak of her life, and she wasn't doing anything wrong. She wasn't in a dangerous place. And it made all the headlines, Susan. This was in People magazine. This was everywhere. And, I realized I had put this on my list of cases to track back in 2017. And I just went to check up on things to see where things stood. And I was so sad to see that this case has still never been solved.
Yeah.
And amazingly, today, as we record it, is actually the 8th anniversary of Amanda Clairmont's murder.
Wow. Well, hopefully we can shine a light on it.
I know. I really, as I was going through researching and getting ready for this episode, I found lots of local coverage annually as this case became, it wasn't solved initially. And then on the 1-year anniversary, the 2-year anniversary, and it really kept going for about 5 years. But here we are 8 years later, and no one's really talking about this case again. So I definitely want to make sure that we remember who Amanda was. She had this big, unforgettable curly hair. You can see it in all the pictures. It's gorgeous. People, her friends have said that you would hear her laugh and you would see the curly hair and you would just know, like, oh, that's Amanda. She was a makeup artist. She oftentimes would volunteer to do people's makeup for free. She just had a passion for it. And there's a story that her friends like to tell about a bride who couldn't afford professional makeup, and Amanda stepped in and did it for her anyway.
Yeah, there's also, everyone also said that she was kind, compassionate, and the type of friend, who showed up at 2 a.m. if you needed her, and the type of daughter who really treasured her family and the rare closeness she had with her father. She had lost her mother to cancer when she was 9.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's terrible, Susan.
Terrible.
And everyone said that Amanda loved her life. She was in college. She would oftentimes go out with friends on popular Fry Street in Denton, where there was lots of dancing and laughing. And everyone said that she was just living life to the fullest.
Yeah, so let's set the scene. It's November 18th, 2017. This is a Saturday night. And Amanda headed to that Fry Street to hit the bars in Denton, which is a staple of her university nightlife, like you said. And she, by all accounts, was a campus celebrity there. So always dancing and always smiling, very well known.
And so sometime after midnight, she left. And what happened next is still unclear, but we know she never made it home.
Early evidence and later a 2021 enhancement shows Amanda pulled into a vacant parking lot next to a Nissan dealership along I-35E in Corinth. Now, this is from security footage.
Yeah, so you always love when there's a camera,
Love it.
right?
Love.
Because we have no clue where she's gone. We don't know where she could be. And then she pops up on a surveillance camera only because it's next to a car dealership and they have cameras in every angle in every direction trying to see if anyone's going to steal one of their cars, right? And so it happened to catch this footage of Amanda's car pulling into this vacant parking lot. And this is so bizarre because no one has been able to find a connection to Amanda in Corinth. Like, no one, she doesn't know anyone there. She doesn't live in that town. She didn't have any reason to stop there that anyone has ever been able to identify to this day.
How far is it from where she was on Fry Street?
I'm not sure like the exact. I think it's not that far. But now I want to like look it up. So I'm going to um
Well, while you do that, I can tell you that this security footage does show her interacting with someone in a red pickup truck. So
yeah.
originally, this was thought to be a GMC or a Chevy, but later on, they figured out that it's actually a 2007 to 2013 year red Toyota Tundra. So now we have a strange vehicle in a strange parking lot in a
Yep.
strange town.
Yeah, so it's about 8 miles away from Fry Street. So not very far, but
But
it's
not very
not.
close. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close, but it's like this suburb. Like, why would you even go there if you didn't live there?
Right.
It's not like a hot spot.
Right.
It's kind of random that you would end up here. You could have gone in any direction, but
Mhm.
somehow she ends up in this empty parking lot. Like, there's no legitimate business purpose. It doesn't make any sense. But yeah, sometime between midnight and 1 a.m. So remember, she left around midnight from Fry Street, and then sometime between midnight and 1 a.m., a resident in Corinth reports hearing 4 gunshots.
This resident also claims that she didn't hear tires screech or engines racing away, just the shots and then silence.
So it's not until 6 a.m. on November 19th when Corinth police officers notice a suspicious car. And it's up against a fence in this vacant lot off the interstate. The headlights are still on and the passenger door is open.
And that's where they find Amanda with multiple gunshot wounds. They pronounce her dead at the scene, and poof, this is Corinth's first homicide in 17 years.
Yeah, this is not a high crime area. This is not a place where murders just pile up. This is something that shocked everyone. Of course, no one more than Amanda's father. He described the moment he got the call as the moment that his world collapsed.
Oh, can't imagine. I
I
mean,
know, it's so sad. And every November, he remembers her. I'm sure he remembers her every day, but he marks this anniversary, and it's just so sad to think that that's like how you have to live whenever you lose a child. Like, you're always going to be thinking um about what was lost. And I just don't think, parents are just not meant to lose their children. It's not supposed to go that way. And it's always so sad to see the families left, and especially whenever they don't know really what happened.
that's right. It's horrible. But let's talk about the investigation at the time when it began. So, Corinth Police Department, it's really the Denton County Sheriff's Office, the Texas Rangers, and by the way, they brought in the FBI. Everyone is involved early on in the investigation, which is wonderful.
Yep.
And especially for a small town, this was an all hands on deck moment that I'm thrilled to see that it
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, it started out with a lot of momentum, but right away, law enforcement faced big problems. They had no clear motive. They had no known enemies of Amanda. Nothing was missing. There was not a sign of robbery or assault. It didn't make sense, Susan. The crime scene does not tell a story that anyone understands.
Right. In fact, Detective Carson Crowe said the hardest part about this case was that nobody disliked Amanda. Nobody had a reason to harm her.
Yeah, I mean, police are casting a wide net. Like any good law enforcement investigation, they start as close as possible to Amanda and they fan out. And so they did look at potential suspects. She had an ex-boyfriend, but they couldn't confirm his involvement. They didn't rule him out, they said, but they found nothing proving he was there either. So there just isn't a lot to go on, Susan. And it's not for lack of trying. She was such a popular student. There were lots of people to interview, but nothing came up as suspicious and nothing was connected to this red pickup truck or to Corinth, Texas.
Yeah, I imagine that the ex-boyfriend did not own or have access to a red pickup truck. So that's why
Yeah.
they weren't, bells weren't ringing there. But let's talk about that red truck. So it's the most important clue, I
Yeah.
believe, because Amanda didn't just pull into a random parking lot to be, I don't know, alone. She interacted with somebody and it's on camera, and she
Yeah.
interacted with somebody in that specific vehicle.
Yeah, so you wonder, like, were they having a conversation? Did they know each other? Was there a fender bender? Wait, like what happened? Why was she talking to this truck? And why I can only think of like pulling into vacant parking lots. In my experience, I do it either because like I need to make a phone call and I don't want to do it while I'm driving, or I do it because I've been in an accident and I'm like about to exchange information with somebody. And it just makes me think like, why would if she didn't know the person, why would she be pulling over to talk to them? But there isn't they just don't know. I mean, her car, whenever it was found, it was up against this fence and, they haven't said that it looked like it was like in a wreck, but it obviously wasn't like in pristine condition. And sometimes these fender benders, you can't really tell. I don't know. It's just like
Right.
theories, right? Why is she talking to this truck?
Right. And they narrowed it down to being a Toyota Tundra
Yep.
model, like I said earlier, years, 2007 to 2013. But originally they said it was a Chevy Silverado. They thought it was a GMC Sierra. So I think too that slowed down the investigation a bit because they were
Yeah.
looking for the wrong make and model.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, my goodness, a red pickup truck in Texas.
Texas.
Yikes, right? I mean, it could be a million cars. So that's not a whole lot to go on. And that's the thing. Everyone's always like, oh, great, there's footage, there's a camera. But it's so rare for the camera to be like strong enough, have the high def to
Right.
actually get a license plate number or anything beyond just the shape and color of the vehicle. Sometimes you don't even get the color if it's
Right.
raining or if it's really dark outside. Luckily, this is after midnight, but the lights in the parking lot were on and illuminated the truck, so you could see the color. Because sometimes you don't even have that much to go on. But yeah, no one has ever come forward with information about this vehicle that has led to the driver being identified. There's now a $20,000 reward on the table from Crime Stoppers, and people are just hoping that someone has information about this, that for whatever reason they haven't come forward yet, that maybe now's the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's 8 years later. I imagine that red truck is long disappeared.
Yeah.
So it would really be down to witnesses or a guilty conscience,
Yeah.
I imagine. But the police do admit they're running out of leads, but not for lack of trying, but because so much time has passed.
Yeah, in previous like reporting on this story, whenever reporters would ask law enforcement, or is this a cold case? Are you working on it? They would say, it's not a cold case. We're working on it every day. We're following up on leads. Like they were really adamant for years that this was not a cold case. But today they admit that they don't have what they need to really keep investigating. They're waiting for something to come forward, and they've actually sent the case to the Texas Attorney General's office cold case unit, which is made up of retired homicide detectives. People in Texas really believe that this is one of the best places to get a cold case assigned because you have a lot of people with great experience in cases that are going to leave no stone unturned and to really put everything they have into solving these cases. And we hope that's what happens here. But gosh, it's so hard. It's so hard to think you can't just make up evidence if you don't have it, you know? And it just seems like they have so little in Amanda's case.
I think they need to send it over to those college kids. They'll have it solved.
That's what I like. Yeah, that's what I like to hear, Susan. Yeah, let's get that Arlington criminology class on it, right?
Let's get it on. Right. So, I mean, yeah, you're right. The police chief has said, quote, sometimes you just run out of things to look at. It all, but he also did say that justice hasn't been delivered here and it really bothers him. And of course it would, because
Yeah.
and so much
Yeah, this
effort.
lead detective has said that he thinks about Amanda's case every single day. And that's what you hope for, as, as awful as it is to think of something happened to someone that you love, the idea that the police wouldn't forget about them, that they would still. I've worked with so many different agencies and detectives and investigators, and the best ones are the ones that keep a picture of that victim in their office, pinned up on the wall, on their desk, that they say, I'm going to look at that picture every day until I solve that case. And I always just really respect like the vulnerability there,
Mhm.
because this is one of those jobs that can just beat you down and you can get so jaded. And the idea that they still like want to solve it and admit like the struggles that they're having. I don't know, Susan. I'm still hopeful. I'm just a hopeless, optimistic person, I guess. But um I do think there are a lot of good eyes on Amanda's case.
Yes, and that has likely brought comfort to her father, who, I mean, he's just frozen in time at
Yeah.
2017 and waiting for answers that, you know, hopefully will come, but haven't yet.
Yeah, so let's talk about some theories. Like we don't want to speculate irresponsibly, but these are the theories that investigators have considered. The idea that this was like a random encounter with Amanda, that she might have met someone on Fry Street, followed them out here, or perhaps somehow came into contact with this red truck. Um, during her drive. Of course, they're looking at the idea this was a targeted act by someone she knew. But I think if police had anything on that, this case wouldn't still be cold. The random, crime of opportunity, those are the hardest to solve, Susan, because
Yeah.
there's no connection between the perpetrator and the victim. And so it's just really difficult to put the puzzle pieces together. So the idea that this was a crime of opportunity, someone saw this beautiful, vivacious young woman alone and did something terrible, that has definitely remains like a viable theory. The idea that there was some kind of argument that turned deadly, that's a possibility because she shot multiple times. I always think about, so this neighbor, this nearby, resident
Yeah.
hears these four gunshots, and they've always said that she was shot multiple times. I'm like,
Mm.
was she shot four times? Like, I wonder.
Right.
Um,
Right.
or, did some of the bullets miss, or, it's just interesting to think about it. It does kind of paint a picture 4 times.
Yeah,
That's a
tied
lot,
it.
and I don't think anyone has said, that Amanda, like, had a gun on her, or anything. It's Texas, it's possible, but the idea that you're shot 4 times, it's really overkill unless the other person has a gun too, you know? Like, to me, the 4 gunshots is a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, really, like to break it down, it's that parking lot interaction that is the key to unlocking everything because someone knows what was said, someone knows why she pulled over, someone knows why she stayed parked there for that amount of time. You know,
Yeah, and someone knows who fired those shots, you know, the gun is literally a smoking gun here.
that's right.
So I don't believe that police have released information about like the caliber that she was shot with or the type of bullets. That goes to like that holdback information, Susan. You know, they're waiting to see if someone actually knows something about the murder. So they put out, you know, Denton County Crime Stoppers is offering the $20,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest and prosecution in Amanda's case. And you know, it's important to remember that tips can be anonymous.
That's right. And that number, so you have it top of your mind, is 1-800-388-TIPS, which is 1-800-388-8477.
Yeah, justice, you know, doesn't have an expiration date. We talked about how there's no statute of limitations for murder, Susan.
That's right. That's great. There shouldn't be.
Yeah,
And, somewhere out there, the person responsible might just be listening for footsteps behind them. Maybe they think that knock on the door is coming. Maybe they convince themselves the case is forgotten, but it is not.
that's right. Her family remembers, her friends remember her, and now so do you.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Justice Pending, and we'll be back next week with an all new case.
Justice Pending is recorded in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. It's hosted by me, Claire Sanama, and Susan Passoni. Our theme music is Bending Truth, licensed at premiumbeat.com. We appreciate all listener feedback. Leave a review wherever you're listening right now, and we might read it on the air. Thanks for joining us.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.